A down day for the market today, but the indices are off the day's lows. Autos, PSU banks are the big drags, while pharma holds up and mid-cap see a bigger decline.
A muted outlook and disappointing margin guidance for JLR, besides fears of growing competition globally and in India in personal vehicles and EVs, drive Tata Motors down.
A guidance on expected improvement in the profit margins acts as a pep pill for Cipla, which also says that it is open to a large acquisition, and analysts cite its strong US pipeline as another positive, and the stock gains.
And ABB jumps on beating expectations, riding on strong demand. Piramal Pharma leaps after an all-round show on sales, profits and debt reduction, but Bank of India slumps on a sharp rise in slippages.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi, in an exclusive interaction with Network 18, calls the India alliance directionless and says that the Modi storm will see the ruling alliance cross the 400 seats mark. Minister of Commerce Piyush Goyal echoes the Prime Minister's views in another exclusive interaction with Network 18. Hello and welcome. You've tuned into Business Lunch on this Monday afternoon as we begin this particular week. I'm Nisha Podar. With me, as always, is Sonia Shenoy. So, Sonia, the market was down and out, carrying on with the momentum and the nervousness that we are seeing in this big election season since last week. But the strong recovery is what I will pay more attention to at this particular point in lunch hour. So, totally looks like it's fueled up to regain that 22,000 psychological level. So yes, it's just trying to hold on to that, and a huge amount of contribution has really come in from the banking space. So recovery in Bank Nifty, and especially led by HDFC Bank, has led Nifty 50 to recover, but it's still on the flat line, 0.18% or down with a negative bias. Bank Nifty 2 is shedding some bit of momentum, absolutely flat with a positive bias. Sensex has lost about 180 points. But it's the mid-cap universe which is taking a bigger hit, 0.45% down in trade and underperforming the other key indices. Advanced decline ratio heavily in favor of the declines. But on my screen, Cipla, Asian Paints, Divi's Labs, in fact, Pharma, some of the counters are the key gainers in terms of percentage. And on the downside are some of the auto stocks. Sonia.
Absolutely. So, there's a lot of volatility in the market, right? The India VIX has also shot up quite a bit. Suffice to say that this is a market where you need to be cautious, because as we head into the election final counting date on the 4th of June, there will definitely be a lot of trepidation in the market. As you have seen, we've also decoupled from across the globe, right? Most global markets are doing well, but our markets are underperforming, which means that there is this jittery feeling ahead of the election verdict. Having said that, this is perhaps a good time to be looking at some of the stock sectors which are only seeing a correction because of the market volatility and the election-related volatility. Because if this current government comes back into power in a big way, then perhaps we could see a big resurgence in the market yet again. Having said that, let's talk about some individual stocks as well. You have Tata Motors, which is one of the big mover on the downside. It's a top Nifty loser this morning after reporting its fourth quarter earnings. Well, if we start by just taking a look at what the earnings are, the biggest negative really was in the conference call. So the management commentary was very cautious, and that is something that did not go down well with the street. The management expects Jaguar Land Rover's EBIT margins in FY25 to be flattish year on year, which means that they don't expect any growth on the operational front in FY25. They talk about higher costs from increasing marketing spends that will hit the margins this time around. However, they maintained that the FY26 guidance will be a 10% EBIT margin for FY26, and they refrain from giving any kind of volume guidance for Tata Motors JLR in FY25. But they did say that the demand will be very difficult in many global pockets, and hence there is some amount of caution both in the global as well as in the local market. If you look at the numbers this time, it was largely a mixed bag. So the revenues were in line, the EBITDA and the margins were slightly below estimates. But if you look at Jaguar Land Rover's numbers, the revenue growth was fairly steady, you'd have to say, 10.7% growth. EBITDA was up 22%, while the margins were up 150 basis points year on year for JLR. There are two downgrades that stand out in trade. One of them is from Nomura and the other one from Morgan Stanley. Nomura has downgraded the stock to a neutral. They have a target price of 1141. They talk about how JLR could face demand risks going forward, and there are rising risks to global demand as well. And they say that the stock is now at a fair value of 5.4 times FY26 EV to EBITDA. So some downgrades coming in, and hence there's a little more caution on the stock today.
That's right, and it is down over 8% in trade, so definitely market punishing it for the cautious commentary coming in and some of the downgrades, especially owing to demand in India as well as globally. But on the flip side, remember ABB also has posted its results and it's up 10% in trade, and ABB India is surging in trade in an otherwise weak market, remember, after posting a strong set of first quarter calendar year 2024 earnings. In fact, our colleague Vamak, she is right here. She's been pouring on those numbers and comes up with the analysis and key highlights. Vamakshi.
Well, absolutely, and a very strong set has come through from ABB India, and as a result, like you rightly pointed out, the stock is locked in the upper circuit. It's a beat across the board. Revenues came in nearly 7% higher for the company. In fact, this revenue growth is largely being led by their electrification and process automation business. This has more than offset the temporary sluggishness in motion as well as robotics and discrete automation is what the company has said. Now, when we look at the margins, we were expecting margins at around 14%, but the margins have actually beaten estimates significantly, now coming in at almost 18.3%, and largely robotics is the only segment that is witnessing a degrowth in the EBIT margins. But the margins in all the other segments have actually improved for the company, and this is largely being driven by higher share of service as well as exports in the revenue mix, as well as positive pricing action and favorable commodity prices for the company. Resultantly, net profit is also seeing a very sharp surge of almost 88% on a year-on-year basis, coming in at 460 crores. The order inflows has also been quite healthy. It's up almost 15% on a year-on-year basis. In fact, this is the fifth or the sixth consecutive quarter wherein the company has maintained order inflow run rate of almost 3,000 crores. The order backlog is also witnessing a significant jump of almost 25%, and this in turn gives very good revenue visibility. Now, the company recently held a con call at around 10 a.m. or so, and they have highlighted that there were no one-offs in Q1. In fact, this better performance was attributed to the revenue mix, favorable material costs, and in fact what they have said is that material costs have softened, and the new orders that will come through will be adjusted for these revised material costs. So margins have definitely spiked up in the first quarter for ABB India, but they're expected to remain at similar levels as FY24 overall. They have also highlighted that ordering activity has not slowed down by any measure on account of the elections, and they see significant private capex picking up in specific areas like data centers, automation, etc. And the focus areas, that is data centers, railways and metro electronics, are expected to post a growth of almost 50%, that is 15% going forward. So overall, a good set of numbers, good commentary coming in from the management, and as a result, the stock is surging in trade today.
All right, thanks a lot for that. So that's on ABB, right? Big move coming in there. But moving on to PSU banking stocks are under pressure. Union Bank and Bank of India after reporting their fourth quarter earnings. We spoke to the management of both these banks on what they make of the outlook for FY25. Listen into excerpts from those conversations.
Net interest margin, I'm looking at something like 2.8 to 3%. Last year, we gave a guidance of 3%, and I was able to do 3.1. But this year, because we are looking at, probably a rate cut, probably in the second or the third quarter of the year. And so I'm looking at a NIM of about 2.8 to 3%. And credit cost, it had a slightly deteriorated in the last quarter because of course, the slippages. It went up to 0.66. So I'm looking at something less than 1% in the current year with regard to slippages also. The loan growth, we are looking at projections of GDP growth at 7%. Usually the thumb rule is, twice the number or 1.5 times the GDP numbers. So advances growth, I'm looking at 11 to 13% in the current year.
As far as the slippage ratio is concerned, we are targeting a number of around 1.20% for the slippage March 25 slippage ratio. As regards the gross NPA number is concerned, you have seen that the gross NPA has come down from 7% plus to 4.98%. We expect further it should be at around 4% in FY25. So for the guidance for March 25 would be on the deposit side 11 to 12% and advances side 13 to 14%. So the guidance for the financial year 25 is on the net interest margin side is that our net interest margin on a global level should be at around 2.95% and this net interest margin on the domestic side should be at around 3.35%.
All right, so those were the guidance coming in from some of the PSU banks. And with that, we'll slip into a short breather on Business Lunch. But when we return, remember, we shift focus to the big event, fourth phase of the union elections, and connect with our reporters on the other side. Stay tuned for all the update.
You're watching Business Lunch on CNBC TV 18. Well, the voting for the fourth phase of the 18th Lok Sabha elections is underway on 96 seats across 9 states and 1 union territory. Some major states such as Bihar, Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, West Bengal, Uttar Pradesh and Jharkhand go to polls. We have our team of reporters joining us now to get up to speed with all details from the ground. First up, let's go to Hyderabad and connect with Jude, the final electoral battle of South India. Jude, tell us what's the mood like?
Well, it's taken four phases for 5 states of South India to go to the polls, and Hyderabad and, of course, Telangana, all 17 seats would be the last of these. Some key poll issues here, really, employment, infrastructure, development, and religious polarization is what the voter is talking about in terms of key issues that they will make their minds on when they go out to vote. There are some rather interesting battles and some constituencies in focus as well. Remember, the Hyderabad constituency has stayed with the Owaisi family for decades now. So the BJP's challenger in Madhavi Lata is looking to change that. There is, of course, a Secunderabad constituency that's seeing G. Kishan Reddy, incumbent union minister, also stand for a 3-time re-election, even as constituencies like Warangal and Karimnagar are also intensely in focus insofar as Telangana's 17 constituencies go. Remember, the momentum, many would argue, is with the Congress, especially after the party's resounding 2023 assembly election. But for the moment, of the 17 seats, the BRS is in power in 9 of them. They're fighting to stay relevant, especially after the drubbing that they received in the 2023 polls. Assembly polls just last year. The BJP and the Congress are also locked in a battle. Which way it will go, we don't quite know as yet, but one thing is for certain, development is a key focus area, as is jobs and religious polarization. At least that's what the younger demographic of Hyderabad's voters are talking about in terms of issues that matter to Telangana.
All right. Thanks so much, Jude, for getting us those key agenda points and what's happening on the ground in Hyderabad. And Jude earlier also spoke to Hyderabad's BJP candidate and actress Madhavi Lata and began by asking her about how confident is she of BJP's victory. Listen in.
I'm confident more than 100%. Because you can't take any other number more than 100 to say how confident you are.
Okay. And as far as Hyderabad is concerned, 17 constituencies, how many of them do you think the BJP will?
As of now, I would not want to give any numbers specifically, but we are extremely confident and there's a wonderful fight in all the 17 constituencies.
Okay. Last question. There's been a fair bit of religious polarization as far as your campaign is concerned. Do you think that will impact your chances in any way?
We have never done any religious polarization. We have done constituencies, entire constituency polarization, which you'd say as Bharat polarization. Okay. We have polarized the Bharat on the name of peace, on the name of progress, but we would never want to divide the country on the name of religion. This is the last thing ever I think one should be thinking to doing to this country.
What is the Hyderabad voter voting for? Last question.
Voting?
Voting for. What is the major poll?
They are voting for peace, they're voting for brotherhood, and they're voting for progress. They're voting to see a new sunrise.
Okay, well, let's move on to Andhra Pradesh now. CNN News 18's Harish joins us from Kadapa. Harish, thanks for joining in. Give us a sense of the mood on the ground in Kadapa.
Well, the entire state of Andhra Pradesh is witnessing a high-intensity battle between YSRCP led by Chief Minister Jagan Mohan Reddy and the India Alliance that has Pawan Kalyan's Janasena, the TDP led by Chandrababu Naidu and the BJP itself. Kadapa is witnessing an interesting fight. This is the fight for the legacy of late Rajshekhar Reddy. You have Sharmila, the daughter of YSR, contesting on a Congress ticket from Kadapa. She's also the Andhra Pradesh Congress Committee chief. She's up against her cousin, who's backed by Jagan Mohan Reddy. He's contesting on a YSRCP ticket. We've seen bitter war of words between the siblings of YSR. At the same time, she's saying this is a fight for justice for her uncle who was killed. She's also saying Jagan, as Chief Minister, hasn't done anything for Kadapa, and she's hoping that she can open the account for Congress. Congress has taken a severe beating in Andhra Pradesh post the bifurcation, and it is hoping that Sharmila can start the revival story of Congress in Andhra Pradesh with this election. In Kadapa, with camera person Riaz, Harish Upadhyaya for CNBC TV 18.
All right, so that was Harish reporting and giving us the ground report. And staying with the fourth phase of the elections, well, my colleague Santya Gora also spoke to Kanhaiya Kumar, the opposition's candidate from Northeast Delhi and the CPI's 2019 candidate from Begusarai, on what he feels are the big issues for the constituency. Also remember that Union Minister Giriraj Singh is on the electoral fray from this city. Listen in.
एज ए वोटर हम बोलें तो मुद्दे तो वही के वही हैं। अभी मैं रास्ते से आ रहा था पटना से, दावा किया जा रहा था तो अगली बार चुनाव से पहले जो है वो 4 लेन का काम कंप्लीट हो जाएगा। वो काम कंप्लीट नहीं हुआ है। आप भी आते होंगे पटना से तो आप देखे होंगे कि सड़कें, मैं पहली बार इस तरफ आई हूँ। नहीं, आप बेगूसराय जब आए होंगे पटना से तो कहीं भी जो है काम कंप्लीट नहीं हुआ है। और दूसरा, पिछली बार जो हम लोग एजेंडे में लोगों से बात करके जो मुद्दे बेगूसराय के लिए उठाए थे, उसमें से एक भी मुद्दे पे कोई काम नहीं हुआ। दिनकर विश्वविद्यालय नहीं बना है। बार बार यह कहा जा रहा था कि फर्टिलाइजर चालू हो रहा है। फर्टिलाइजर चालू जरूर हुआ है हर्ल के नाम से, लेकिन किसी भी स्थानीय व्यक्ति को उसमें कोई रोजगार नहीं मिला है।
Okay, well, as we slip into a break, Prime Minister Narendra Modi, in an exclusive interview with Network 18's Amish Devgan, said that there is a strong wave in the country and that they will comfortably cross 400 seats in this election. Network 18's Rahul Joshi also spoke to Piyush Goyal on crossing 400 seats. Listen in.
मैंने करीब हिंदुस्तान के एक 3-4 राज्य बाकी है, सभी राज्यों का भ्रमण किया है और सभी राज्यों के भ्रमण से मैं देख रहा हूं कि ये आंधी है, आंधी,
बड़ी आंधी। और
2019
से बड़ी वाली आंधी
400 पार बहुत आराम से देश की जनता करने वाली है। विपक्ष 19 से 24 में विपक्ष के नाते भी विफल गया है। जो लोग विपक्ष के नाते भी विफल गए हो, उनको इतना बड़े देश का कारोबार कौन देगा?
मैंने अभी अमित शाह जी का इंटरव्यू किया, उनसे पहला सवाल पूछा। मैंने कहा, ये आपका नारा था अब की बार 400 पार, तो क्या ये नारा अभी भी अपने आप में खड़ा हुआ है या गाड़ी पटरी से उतर रही है?
पूरा कायम है
जी।
और जब आप जमीन पर उतरते हो, जब आप लोगों के बीच जाते हो, उनका प्रतिसाय, उनका रिएक्शन, और पॉलिटिकल लीडर्स समझ लेते हैं ऑडियंस के रिएक्शन से कि क्या रिस्पांस मिल रहा है। स्पीच के दौरान क्या रिस्पांस है, विषय के दौरान क्या रिस्पांस है। मेरा तो व्यक्तिगत मानना है कि 400 पार तो होगा ही। प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी जी के 10 वर्ष का कार्यकाल और उनके 50 वर्ष का बेदाग सामाजिक जीवन, ये अपने आप में लोगों को प्रोत्साहित करते हैं और विश्वास दिला रहे हैं उनको कि मोदी जी ही हैं जो इस देश को विश्व पटल पर लेके जाएंगे।
Welcome back. And pressure is building again on the market. The kind of recovery it had seen, it's losing ground again. Nifty 50.4% down in trade. And it's a broad-based pressure that we are seeing right now. Moving on to some macros. India's industrial output growth slowed to 4.9% in the month of March compared to 5.7% in February. Now, the cumulative growth rate for FY24 stood at 5.8% compared to 5.2% growth in the previous financial financial year. And the CPI inflation data is also due today. All eyes would be on that. Ritu Singh joins in with all the details. Ritu.
Well, let me start with the IIP numbers for March, where industrial output growth rate slowed down to 4.9% compared to 5.7% in February, but this was along expected lines. The most notable decline came from mining, where output rose by 1.2% in March compared to 8% the month before. Now, growth in manufacturing and electricity sectors, they saw some acceleration, which countered the slowdown that we saw in mining. Manufacturing output expanded by 5.2%, although on a very low base, and electricity grew by a robust 8.6%, thanks to rising temperatures also boosting demand. The growth of consumer durables outpaced all other categories at 9.5%, but this also came on a low base. Now, consumer non-durables output growth, that turned positive after 2 consecutive months of contraction. The cumulative growth rate for FY24, that stood at 5.8% compared to 5.2% that we saw in FY23. Now, moving on to inflation data, which is due to be released later today, the CNBC TV18 poll shows that April CPI inflation may have only marginally eased to 4.81% from 4.85% that we saw in March. The estimates for the month range from 4.7 to 5.05%. Now, the reason we may not see a notable fall in inflation just yet is because of food prices, which account for nearly half of the CPI basket, and they continue to remain sticky. Prices of key vegetables like your tomatoes, onions, potatoes, as well as the fruits continue to remain high. Now, with parts of the country also seeing heat waves, food prices are unlikely to even come down in a hurry anytime soon. Now, our poll estimates food inflation at 8.07% and core inflation, which is inflation without food and fuel, is seen at 3.33%, similar to the levels we saw the month before.
Okay, that's all the time we have on Business Lunch. Thanks a lot for watching. Midcap Radar will take all the market action forward.